The rain had been falling for hours, soaking the quiet streets of a small town in upstate New York. The sidewalks glistened under the dim glow of the streetlights, and the trees swayed with a haunting rhythm that made the night feel heavier than usual. Emily Walker sat by the window of her old two-story home, sipping a cup of tea as the storm pounded against the glass. Her husband, James, was away on a work trip, and the children, Michael and Sarah, were already asleep upstairs. For Emily, nights like these always felt longer, lonelier, and filled with thoughts that refused to let her rest. It had been nearly a year since her father's passing, and though she tried to stay strong for her family, grief had a way of seeping into her life when the world grew quiet. Her father had been a constant presence, someone who always reminded her to keep going, no matter how hard life became. One of his last words to her had been, "Promise me you'll never stop, Emily. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you." She remembered holding his hand in that hospital room, tears falling freely as she whispered back, "I'll never stop, Dad. I promise." But promises made in grief were harder to keep than she had ever imagined. That night, as thunder rolled in the distance, Emily heard something unusual. At first, it was faint, like a shuffle outside the porch. She told herself it was just the wind or maybe a branch breaking under the weight of the storm. But then it came again, a slow, deliberate sound, like footsteps on the wooden steps outside her door. Her heart pounded as she set down her mug, straining to listen. Gathering her courage, Emily walked toward the front door. "Hello," she called softly, her voice barely rising above the rain. No response. She reached for the knob, then stopped, reminding herself not to be reckless. Instead, she peered through the peephole. At first, all she could see was darkness, rain blurring the edges. But then a figure emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, and standing perfectly still. Fear shot through her. She stepped back, her mind racing. Should she call the police? Should she wake the kids? But before she could move, the figure spoke. His voice was low but clear, cutting through the storm. "Don't be afraid, Emily. I promised your father I'd be here." Emily froze. "What did you say?" she whispered, more to herself than to him. The man didn't move closer, but his words struck something deep in her. "Your father asked me to protect you, to make sure you never stop. And I don't break promises." Her knees nearly gave way. She had never seen this man before, yet he spoke with certainty about her father. Her father, who had always been protective, who had friends from years of military service and connections she knew little about. Could this man be one of them? Against her better judgment, Emily opened the door slightly, keeping the chain lock in place. Rain poured around the stranger, his face shadowed by the brim of his hat. "Who are you?" she demanded. "My name isn't important," he said. "What matters is that I made a vow to your father, and I intend to keep it. No matter what happens, Emily, you must never stop." Something in his tone was both chilling and strangely comforting. She wanted to slam the door shut and call the police, but there was also an undeniable pull, as though her father's voice was somehow echoing through this stranger. That night passed without further incident. Emily barely slept, her mind tangled in fear and curiosity. The next morning, she convinced herself it had been some bizarre dream born of exhaustion. But then, over the following weeks, strange things began happening. When she walked Sarah to school, she noticed the same figure standing across the street, watching silently. When Michael had soccer practice, she saw a man leaning against a tree at the far end of the field. He never approached, never spoke, but he was always there. And every time, Emily felt the same chill, half fear, half reassurance. One evening, while driving home, Emily's car broke down on a deserted road. Panic started to rise in her chest, but before she could even call for help, headlights appeared behind her. The same man stepped out of the car, wordlessly fixing the engine with practiced ease. When she tried to thank him, he simply said, "Don't stop, Emily. Keep going," before disappearing into the night. By now, she could no longer convince herself it was coincidence. He was watching her, guiding her, but why? And how much did her father truly know before he died? Emily confided in James when he returned from his trip, but he brushed it off. "And you've been through a lot. Grief plays tricks on the mind. You probably just keep seeing someone who looks familiar and connecting it to your dad." But Emily knew better. The man was real, and he wasn't leaving. One night, as the storm raged again, Emily heard another sound, this time inside the house. Panic surged as she ran upstairs, checking on the kids. Michael and Sarah were safe, sound asleep. But when she returned downstairs, she found the man sitting in her living room chair, soaked from the rain, his eyes fixed on her. Her breath caught. "How did you get in here?" she whispered. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned forward. "Your father knew what was coming. He knew life would test you, try to break you. He told me to make sure you stayed strong, that you would never stop fighting for your family. That's why I'm here." Emily's hands trembled, but she forced herself to stand tall. "If you think scaring me is helping, you're wrong." The man shook his head. "I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to remind you. Your father believed in you more than anyone, and he wanted to make sure you remembered that when the world tried to take it away." Then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. No sound of a door opening or closing, no trace left behind, just the faint smell of rain lingering in the room.